What is up, book besties? It is now Friday, August 16th, and I'm just going to go through my July reading wrap up. I know that it's super late. I actually didn't even realize I didn't do it yet, and then I had some family come in town, so we're going to get this done. I'm going to start by talking about Summerween, because Summerween was a readathon that I participated in July. And I'm only going to talk about it here and not post a vlog because I failed miserably at this. It was my first readathon. I did not vlog very much. Okay, so obviously I had planned to vlog Summerween. I was going to do like a vlog throughout the whole week and post it, and I failed really badly at that. I'm going to have a better plan for next year because I do plan to participate in it again. I did like the idea of it. It's just that there was one book in there that I couldn't get into, and that was Geneva Rose's You Shouldn't Have Come Here. So I went ahead and started listening to something else because that was going to be the audio, and then I just lost track and didn't finish. But what I did read during Summerween was Villains Are Destined to Die. This was a manga about this girl here. I believe that her dad doesn't accept her like in the real world, and then she ends up in this video game that she plays, and so she's playing as the villain, or she's living as the villain in this video game, so she has to remember how she played it to kind of survive, because I think she finds out that if she dies in the video game, then she just dies. So she's trying to survive, and it's a similar situation. In the video game, the villain, she this rich family thinks that she is their like long lost daughter, and it turns out she's not. And when they find out, they get upset, but it is not her fault. They kind of just pull her into it. So she's just kind of trying to survive. I did really enjoy it, and I did order volume 2, so I would recommend this one. I gave this one, I guess I should pull up the stars I gave everything. I gave this one 4 stars, so I really enjoyed this one. Next for Summerween, I read Captured by Lauren Beale. Captured was probably the darkest book that I've read so far. It was a very wild ride. I really love Lauren Beale. I will read everything by her now. This book is definitely not for everyone. It is a banned book for a reason. I do see now that I read it why it's banned, because of the content, but I did really enjoy it. There were parts of it that honestly made me sick to my stomach, which has never happened before in a book, but nevertheless, let me look at how many stars. I want to say I 5-starred this one. I 4-starred it because I did really, really enjoy it. I will think about this book probably for the rest of my life. The only reason that I gave it 4 instead of 5 stars is because it did make me sick to my stomach a couple of times, but I still really enjoyed the book. I would recommend it, but only if you check trigger warnings first, because it is a very, very dark book. But this was the second one that I read for Summerween. And then I think that's all I got through for Summerween. Let me check, because I didn't get very far. I had started another one. Oh no, I did read a third one. It was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. That was for the book I read in the dark. The Housemaid, I did give 5 stars to. I really, really enjoyed this. It was my first Frida McFadden, and this month I have now finished the sequel, which is The Housemaid's Secret. So I will talk about that in my August wrap up, which hopefully I do within the first couple of days of August. Or first couple of days of September. I plan to get my August reading wrap up done, so hopefully I'll do better this time. July was my birthday month. I've had some company this month in August, and so I just was a little behind on some stuff. But The Housemaid, it's about our main character. Her name is Millie, and she was in prison for I think like 10 years for something that she did, but it was kind of like an innocent situation. Like, it wasn't something that she set out to do. It just kind of happened, and I won't spoil like exactly what that is in case you're going to go and read it. But she goes to work for this family as their housemaid, and just some crazy things start happening that she notices, and it is a thriller. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to spoil too much, just have to go and read it, but it did make me want to read everything by Frida McFadden. And I actually got lucky enough to get an art copy of her new book, The Coworker, which is coming out August 29th. So I will be talking about that one next month, and I'm super excited to read that one. But I have read the sequel too, and that was easily a 5-star read for me. So that's what I did for Summerween. The rest of the month, I read, I finished up Satan's Affair, but I think I talked about it last month because I finished it like the first day of the month, so we'll skip over that one. When I could not really get into Geneva Rose's book, and I don't know if it was the book or the audio, because I was listening to the audio and it was really monotone and I couldn't get into it. So I may pick up the actual book and give it another try. But I ended up skipping over that one. I'm not going to say I DNF'd it because I set it aside and I may still pick it back up. So I ended up listening to Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This one, I have been hearing about everywhere. It was highly recommended. I did really enjoy it and I gave it 4 stars. I think that it was too long, however. I don't think it needed to be that long because some parts just kind of dragged for me. I did listen to it on audio, which I had to slow it down because they are based in Ireland. And the audio, the narrators, they're Irish and it is a very strong accent. The female narrator was a little easier to understand. The male narrator, it was a little harder to catch on to, but it was just easier for me to listen to it this month than to pick it up and read because it is a very large book. But I did really enjoy it. I 4-starred it and I will read the rest of the series. I'm not sure when I'll pick them up because my TBR is so long, but I will be reading it. So there was that one. I was Binding 13. Then I read another Penelope Douglas in July, and it was a Birthday Girl. This one I also really enjoyed. I gave it 4 stars. I've actually enjoyed every Penelope Douglas book I've read since Credence, so I'm going to continue. I want to read Bully this month. I've got the audio on that, and then I want to read the Devil's Night series, so that will probably be coming in September. But Birthday Girl, it is a ex-boyfriend's dad story. The main character, she's out on her birthday by herself, waiting on her boyfriend to pick her up from work. He's late, so she goes to the movies where she meets somebody and they just kind of talk it up, and they discover that her boyfriend is his son. And something happens with their apartment, I believe, and they end up going to live with the dad, and it just goes from there. It's a very, it's not super spicy. I don't think Penelope Douglas has her scenes, but I don't think she's like necessarily a super spice writer. It's in there, but it's like done in a way where there's an actual story, and so I did really enjoy this one. And then I 4-starred that. Then I listened to Neon Gods by Katie Robert. So I had started Neon Gods a couple of months ago. I never finished it. Not that it wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't hooking me in enough. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it's done in a way where all of the gods kind of revolve. Like, okay, so what I mean by this, let's say Hades. There's a different Hades all the time. They like nominate new gods, and I didn't really like that. I felt like with the gods there, the gods, Hades is Hades, Persephone is Persephone, but in this one, they can die, things happen, and then they just nominate it like a new person to be in that spot. And so in Neon Gods, Zeus decides that he's going to choose a new Persephone, but he wants her to be his new wife, and he's going to turn her into a different god. So she goes to the underworld and goes to Hades for help because she does not want to marry Zeus. And so they think that there is no Hades. They think that Hades has died off. They have not brought a new one. There is a Hades down there. And so she goes and tries to get his help to keep her from having to marry Zeus. I thought this book was just okay. It was not my favorite. I listened to the audio, and I think they have British accents, which kind of threw me off because I don't see the gods as having British accents. But that wasn't what killed it for me. It was just, I didn't like the story of the gods changing. It did have some spice in there. I didn't like the story too much. So this was just okay. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't my favorite retelling. So I gave this one 3 stars. Then I read That Sick Love by Jessie Hall. Now, this one I listened to on audio because I'd heard that Joe Arden was going to be the male narrator, and he does a really great job of narrating male voices. So I will say that listening to the audio was worth it for Joe Arden's voice. He did a wonderful job narrating, and that is what got me through the book, because the story itself was not my favorite. I actually gave this book 2 stars. I know it's a very unpopular opinion for this book, and I did have the actual copy, but I don't know where it is because I've been redoing my bookshelves and I listened to it on audio anyways. So the audio is worth listening to. This is why I didn't like it, and this will have a little bit of spoilers. So if you're gonna read it, you don't know what's going to happen, skip over this part and go to the next book because I will spoil a little bit here. But this book was compared to, I don't know if that was the book or the character of Arrow, who was the main character in That Sick Love, was compared to Zaid Meadows from Haunting Adeline, which was one of my favorite reads of the year. And I love Zaid Meadows. So going into the book, I expected them to be similar. They're not at all similar, in my opinion. They're completely different characters. There was some similarities to the book where I felt like it was copied. Like I felt like, oh, I've heard this before. Just some of the things Arrow says. He is a stalker. What I did not like about this book is going into the beginning, the main character, Bryony, she says, oh yeah, that's Arrow, my stalker. Which is odd. You know, like she didn't seem scared. There was never a backstory as to when she discovered he was a stalker. She was not afraid. He just wears a mask and she doesn't know who he is, but she talks to him, she hangs out with him, and to me that wasn't really like stalker vibes. It was just you're hanging out with this weird stranger in a mask. And then he supposedly, he's using her to get revenge on his father. So, I mean, I didn't really like that he used her so much, but the things that he makes her do to get his revenge is something that Zaid would never. You know, Zaid would never have Adeline do things with other people. He wouldn't let anybody touch her, you know. He would also never be with another woman, whereas Arrow does this and in front of her. So it just didn't, wasn't my thing. The voice, Jordan's voice was amazing and I loved listening to it. And there were things about the book that I did like. So it did get 2 stars because I did like some of it. I just, it wasn't my favorite. However, I did read another Jessie Hall book this month. Well, I started it in July, but I'm going to go over it for August because I finished it like a week in August. But it was Hawk by Jessie Hall. It was our book read for last month in the Gremlins After Dark Discord. And so Hawk, I finished at the beginning of August, but I'll talk a little bit about it here just because as it was with Penelope Douglas, I didn't like the first book I read by her, but I've liked everything after. And it's kind of been the same for Jessie Hall with me. I didn't really care too much for That Sick Love, but Hawk, one of my top reads of the year. This character absolutely has my heart, and I'm also already purchased the sequel. I have it around here somewhere, and I plan to read it for the month of August, so I will go over that next month. But it's not really a sequel, it's just a spin-off. It's got another character from this book and tells their story, and it is called Kid. But I really enjoyed Hawk. I won't go too much into that one because I'll talk about it in my next wrap-up. But this one was an absolute 5-star for me, whereas That Sick Love was only a 2. So another example of give the author more than one chance, just like with Penelope Douglas, because it's not the author for me that's an issue. I have nothing against the author. That particular book was not for me, but I do love some other works by that author. So That Sick Love got 2 stars. I said unpopular opinion. People really love that one. It just wasn't for me. And then I also read, let's see, what else did I read? Fourth Wing. That was the first book that I picked up for the month. This book has been hyped up like crazy on TikTok. So I was a little worried because of the hype that I wasn't going to like it as much. But let me tell you, this book was 100% lived up to the hype. I 5-starred Fourth Wing. I loved everything about this book. I have purchased a a box that comes with like overlays for it. It's got stenciled edges. It comes with other goodies for the book. I have already pre-ordered book 2. It comes out in November. So Fourth Wing was definitely worth the hype. And then I feel like I'm getting to the end of what I read in July. That may be all I read. I didn't have a big month. I didn't read a ton of books in July. I said it was my birthday month. I had some stuff going on. But the books I read were thicker. Fourth Wing was, I listened to on audio, and it was a 21-hour listen. And then Binding 13 was a very large book as well. So it did take me a little longer to get through some things, but I did read some thicker books. Yeah, that was my July reads. I'm so sorry it's coming out so late. Like I said, this was a busy month, and I didn't even realize I hadn't done it yet. So I hope you enjoy what we went over in this one. And let me know what you thought about Fourth Wing, because I've been seeing ups and downs on that. It was super hyped, and I thought it lived up to the hype, but I have seen some other booktubers say that they absolutely hated it. So have you read it, and what did you think about it? Also, since we have hit 500 over here, I will be announcing a giveaway soon. I'm currently working on a giveaway over my TikTok page. So if you go up, look in the description down below, and I have a link to the TikTok. If you're not following, follow me there, because we're doing a giveaway. And then I will be doing a 500 subscriber giveaway here. So thank you, book besties. I will see you in the next video.